Hello, 40k theorists. Welcome back to the Death Guard mini-series where we are taking a deep dive into the good detachments. Today we're going to be looking at Mortarion's hammer. So we're going to be taking another look at the army rule real quick. We'll just kind of go through all the different units again really fast, and then we'll take a look at the detachment itself and see which units slot into this detachment the best. So, plague burst all over that like button and that subscribe button and Nurgle's bell. Check out the other videos in the series and on the channel. Subscribe to the Power Fisters, it's linked below. And leave comments and get that engagement going. So, like the first video, let's start by taking a look at our army rule for the Death Guard, which is Nurgle's Gift, an expanding aura from all models in your army that gives off -1 toughness, and then also one of 3 other abilities that you choose before the game starts. Your options are -1 to hit, -1 move, OC, and leadership, like all rolled into one there, and then -1 to saving throw. You almost always take the -1 to saving throw, although matchup depending, you may also want to take something else. This starts at a 3-inch aura, goes to 6 on battle round 2, and then goes to 9 on battle round 3, and it just stops at 9 there. So that's our army rule. Now, let's just very quickly go over the units again, starting with the characters. I'm not going to do a huge breakdown like I did in the previous video. This video will probably be much shorter than the first one. So we're just going to rip through the characters. Here we go. The Lord of Contagions, the first one. He's T7 with a 2-up, 4-up. He's got 6 wounds. Gets back on a 2-up with 3 wounds. Gives out Sustained and Lance. He's got 5 attacks at 9, 3, so I'm going to include Affliction when talking about the AP of any weapons, so +1 AP basically. So it's 5 attacks at 9, 3, 3 with lethals, and now Lance and Sustained 1 if he's attached to a unit. Conclusion here, take him, put him with Death Shroud, or just take him solo because he comes back to life. That's also pretty cool. 110 points, maybe. Lord of Virulence is next, toughness 7 with a 2-up, 4-up, 6 wounds. He gives his unit reroll wounds with ranged weapons. He picks a unit that he can see, within 30 inches. Anyone who shoots at it rerolls 1s to hit, or all hits if it's a blast weapon. He has an anti-infantry 2+ flamer that is basically AP2 with affliction and ignores cover, has 5 attacks at 8, 3, 2, when you're including affliction there, with lethals. Conclusion on this guy, take him with Blight Lords. He's maybe 90 points. The Plague Caster's up next. He's got a Flamer that's pretty decent. It's got a 12-inch range with D6 plus 3 shots. When you overcharge it, it's going to be Strength 6 AP2, D3 damage. He enfeebles you as well, which makes you -2 to your move if he hits you with his Flamer thing. I think it's actually if he wounds you with his Flamer thing. He's toughness 6 now. He gives Sustain to his unit if they shoot at an afflicted target. He has 60 points, maybe. Then we have the Prince. Toughness 12 with 10 wounds with a 2-up, 4-up, 12-inch aura of strat discount, so any strat that you use once per turn is -1 CP. He's a lone op within 3 inches of MD friendly infantry there, and he's got a 6-inch aura that gives out cover. He has 7 attacks at 8, 3, 3 with lethals, or 14 attacks at 6, 2, 1 with lethals. He's 195 points probably. The Foul Blight Spawn is going to be our next character here. Toughness 6 now, gives out Fight First. Enemy units cannot start or end an advance move within 9 inches of him, and then he's got his Flamer, D6 shots with Strength 7 AP3, basically. 2 damage. Pretty good. 60 points. So, awesome. Gives fights first, has a Flamer. I love this fucking thing. It's great. Then you have the Putrefier. He's also Toughness 6 now. He gives all weapons in the unit lethal hits. He also gives the unit criticals on 5s. His Grenade is now Strength 7, AP1, 2 damage, but AP2 because of Affliction. He is 45 points, probably. We then got Mortarion. He's got a 6-inch end of movement phase aura that does mortal wounds to everyone on a 2+ or a 3+, depending on whether or not you're afflicted. He gives out reactive moves, reactive shoots, or a fight on death. He's got 5 attacks at strength 14, AP4, D6 plus 1 with lethals, devs, or 15 attacks at strength 8, AP3, 2 damage with sustained 1 and lethals. And remember again, all the AP is 1 higher because I'm including affliction here. He's 380 points, probably. Next, the Lord of Poxes is going to be our last character here. T6, 5 wounds, basically just a Chaos Lord, but for Nurgle. Gives out Lone Op at 18 inches for the unit that he's attached to. He has an extended contagion range. He extends it by 3 inches, so he could actually have a 12-inch contagion range later on in the game. He's got 6 attacks, a strength 8, AP 3, we're going to say. 2 damage with lethals and dev wounds, and he's allegedly 75 points. Or at least, these are the points at the time of recording that we know about. So for our regular units there, we've got our Plague Marines, T6 now. Tons of options, boils down to like 4 flamers, a single blight launcher, 5 fists, or like 3 flamers, 2 blight launchers, and 5 fists. They give out affliction to any unit that they shoot at, you pick one of them. And they also give out a -1 leadership aura within 6 inches. They're 100 points, 140 or 200. Basically, they're just 20 points a pop, just no variation on the unit size. Poxwalkers, unchanged, except they have Infiltrate now, so they're awesome. Basically a way to make affliction happen way earlier. They have OC, and so they can do actions. They're 60 points for 10 guys with Infiltrate. What else can I say here? Not much. But then we got the spawn. Scout 6 with an 8-inch move. They have a Feel No Pain of 5+, toughness 7. They have Deadly Demise 1. They also have OC, so they can do actions. They roll a dice for each melee attack that like hits them, and you roll 6 of them max, and then on a 4-up, your opponent takes mortal wounds. Allegedly 80 points. Got Blight Lords that are T7 now, with a 5-inch move. All the Terminators are a 5-inch move, so that's all your characters, all kinds of Terminators, 5-inch move. These guys get +1 to their strength and their AP when they shoot an afflicted target. They have to have at least 5 models or have a character attached when it happens, but that's pretty easy to do. They get full rerolls to wound because of the Lord of Virulence being attached to them. Their combat is now 2 damage, but only 3 attacks instead of 4. 180 points for 5, 360 for 10. Then we got our Death Shroud, toughness 7 now as well, with 4 wounds. Absolutely nuts. They give their character that's attached a 4-up Feel No Pain. They can deep strike within 6 inches of afflicted units, and then they can charge, because fuck you. They have Vortex Piece at 8-3-2, hitting on 2s with lethals, and then probably also hitting with Sustained 1 and Lance because of a Lord of Contagion. Each one of them has an anti-infantry 4+ flamer as well, so it's basically AP1 with the affliction accounted for. 140 points for 3 or 300 for 6. Maybe. We don't know quite yet, but we're going to say that those are the points. Now for our vehicles, we have our Bloat Drone. That's going to be D6 plus 2 shots at strength 10, AP3, 3 damage. That's what its gun does. Also, for the point stuff, the points are listed, or they're linked down below, like the GW website where you can download them. So depending on when you're watching this, just go look at the field manual and see if the points have changed. But our Bloat Drone here, yeah, D6 plus 2 shots with blast at strength 10, probably AP3 because of affliction, 3 damage. This guy can also possibly afflict all units within 6 inches of the unit that it destroys. 100 points. Predator Destructor, OC3 now, so that went down. It gives +1 AP against non-monsters and vehicles that it shoots at. Its main gun has lethals. Its heavy bolters make me sad because they have lethals and sustained at like basically AP2. Maybe more because of other predators, maybe ignoring cover because of the defilers. 145 points. Basically a slightly worse castigator there. Then you have the defiler himself. The leaks say he's 165 points. I say that's impossible. He's toughness 11 with 14 wounds and a 5-up invuln. His main gun gained lethals, so it's going to be D6 shots, or D6 plus 3 shots actually, excuse me, at strength 10, basically AP2 with affliction, flat 3 damage. It also has a twin-linked heavy bolter, a heavy flamer, both of which are basically an extra AP. It's got 5 attacks in combat at strength 16, AP4 with affliction, D6 plus 1 damage, it walks over shit, and it takes away cover to things that it shoots at. So it's a much better immolator, basically. It's an immolator with claws. They got the Blight Haulers, they're now +1 to hit monsters and vehicles. The Multi-Melta gained lethals, they're 90 points apiece. You got the Plague Burst Crawler as well, its entropy cannons went up to 36 inches. The mortar is still good at 8-1-2 with D6 plus 3 shots with lethals. Its special rule is that it splashes mortal wounds to everything within 3 inches of the unit that it shoots at. You actually roll for it first. On a 6+, you take D3 mortal wounds unless you're afflicted, in which case you take them on a 5+. So every unit within 3 inches, if they're afflicted, you roll on a 5-ups to do D3 mortal wounds to everything per Plague Burst Crawler. Then you have the Rhino. This is the last vehicle, 85 points, but that is because it gives you fucking rerolls to wound if you get out and shoot the same target. So that's dumb and unnecessary, and I fucking love it. And those are all of the units that are good. And that's a quick breakdown of them. Like I said, we're going to rip through them. We ripped right through them. So that's our units. Yes, it's pretty much like all of them. Now that we have that little summary in our brain, let's take a look at our detachment for today's video, which is going to be Mortarion's Hammer. Our detachment rule is very straightforward. Pick 2 units. They become afflicted. You just pick them at the start of your turn. Awesome. So what this means is that we can even more easily pick units that Morty can do mortal wounds to. The Plague Burst Crawlers, they can more easily do their splash mortal wounds now. The Death Shroud, they can deep strike within 6 inches of stuff now. More easy. But before we start building a list, let's dive into the enhancements and the stratagems and kind of take a look at all of that. The first enhancement is going to be Eye of Affliction. The unit gains ignores cover when shooting an afflicted target. Okay, so what? Why is this an enhancement? I have tons of flamers, I have defilers to take away cover. Like, basically any unit with guns that a character can attach to has options for flamers, and they're generally the best option to take. Blight Lords are like the only one that can take a bunch of non-flamer stuff, so, but like Death Shrouds also wouldn't care here. So overall, this is basically fucking useless unless it costs like 5 points. But the next one though is Bile-Maul Blight. This one is great. This goes on a Plague Caster, and this doubles his range. So motherfucker has the longest ranged flamer in the game, I'm pretty sure, at 24 inches. And when he hits you, he makes you -2 to your movement. So from a 24-inch range, that's really good, because before he had to be within 12 inches. Making somebody only -2 movement from 12 inches away isn't all that great, you know? Especially against units that move more than 6 inches, but at 24 inches, now we're talking. So not sure how many points it is at the time of recording for this enhancement, but it gives you an incentive to take the Plague Caster, and I like that, because he's cool. And it also synergizes with a stratagem that we'll get to in just a moment here. But the next thing that we got for our enhancements is the Shriekworm Familiar. Once per battle round, you can fire Overwatch for 0 CP. That's fine, I guess. Things with a lot of flamers are gonna love this, especially in scenarios where they can like rapid ingress with an unexpected Overwatch, you know? So that's pretty good. Cool little trick. A lot of times people can avoid it though. I try to do that kind of stuff, but people usually just avoid it, and I feel bad. But then again, you could also make a Demon Prince have Overwatch cost 0 CP. So you have that option there as well. So I'm just not sure that we need this stratagem, or this enhancement, but I think it's fine. Last for our enhancements though, is Tendrilless Emissions, and this is by far the best. Goes on a Lord of Virulent only, and while he's within 3 inches of a vehicle, he has the Lone Op ability. And while he's within 3 inches of those vehicles, they reroll once to wound if they shoot something that the Lord of Virulence himself can see. So he's a little gunnery commander guy. He's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool enhancement for him. Give him Lone Op, and then gives reroll once to wounds for all your vehicles. That's very, very strong. So those are our enhancements, and I think we use 2 of them. I think the one with the Plague Caster, Bile-Maul Blight, I think that's very good. I think you can maybe take that one depending on points. And then you also have to absolutely take Tendrilless Emissions every time, no matter how many points it is. So it makes the Plague Caster good, and the Lord of Virulence insane. And so right off the bat, because the Lord of Virulence also has an ability where he gets to allow your stuff to reroll hits when he picks a unit that he can see. So rerolling hits, rerolling wounds, all that stuff's really good. So I really do think that you're taking the Lord of Virulence here and a Plague Caster for sure, and probably the Demon Prince as well, because he's fucking awesome. But let's take a peek at the stratagems, starting with strat number 1, which is Blighted Land for 2 CP. You pick a piece of terrain within 24 inches and visible to a Death Guard vehicle. Anyone within 3 inches of that terrain is afflicted. And this happens at the end of your movement phase. So you move your vehicle up, it picks a piece of terrain, everything within 3 inches of that piece of terrain is afflicted. So it is 2 CP, that is a lot of CP, but it actually targets the vehicle. So your Demon Prince can discount this stratagem to 1 CP, and you can have a ton of stuff be afflicted, and when things are afflicted, a lot of your units turn on, like your Plague Bursts, like your Blight Lords being able to deep strike in, you know, that kind of stuff. And especially Plague Bursts, this just makes them so fucky, dude. They're always hitting afflicted units in this case, and the things around them will definitely be afflicted too, because between this, other units that give out affliction, and just being able to pick 2 of them from the detachment rule, you're gonna be hitting afflicted units with these mortal wounds every single fucking time. This makes Mortarion better, because now his movement damage procs on 2s against like everything. It is a little pricey though, and you're probably not gonna use it that often, to be honest. You're really just not gonna use it all. You might use it like once, but because the footprints exists and fits into this detachment, he would love to give you a 50% discount on this, which means you may actually use it from time to time. This also rings my my Death Shroud bell. Like, I picked 2 units to be afflicted, then I also afflict all units within 3 inches of this piece of terrain. I am 100% deep striking within 6 inches, like I just am with those Death Shroud. So in conclusion here, this makes Plague Bursts very, very viable in this detachment. This makes Death Shroud even more viable in this detachment, and this makes Morty's ability proc more easily, so I like that. But the next one that we have is Relentless Grind for 1 CP. This is in the movement or charge phase. You get to move through walls. It's just good. It should be a rule on like in the core rulebook, but you know, it's not. So it is good to have, and it makes things like Defilers very scary. Now they can just, oh yeah, through walls, and they're not like the fastest things ever, but still, with an 8-inch move and its weird like profile that it has, the fact that it can just bust right through walls, that actually is very significant for a unit like that. And you could also use this to move like smaller things, like a vehicle, like a drone, or like a blight hauler, through walls just to get affliction in range, or something like to bubble stuff out, or whatever the case may be, because having to move around walls in this game is fucking annoying. And overall, it just makes the moving so much simpler, and I love that. And it can also throw people off because a lot of people, including myself, pre-measure and do not usually think to account for the fact that you can just go like straight through. And so it kind of like throws people off sometimes. It's really, really good with rhinos as well that have Plague Marines inside, because the rhino can just move up straight through the wall 12 inches. Dudes get out 3 inches, they've got 12-inch range flamers. If you started within 27 inches of that rhino, like you're getting hit with a ton of twin-linked flamers and shit. So the conclusion on this one here is Defilers, they like moving directly through walls since their footprint is weird as hell. All vehicles like moving through walls, lets you push contagion range up further, which I guess the rhino gives off too, which is kind of hilarious. Makes Plague Marine bombs extremely scary as well, and they're just hard to hide against at that point. And so the last one here that I think is really strong is Stinking Mire. It's a -2 to charge your vehicle. I was going to say it's a 2 CP strat. It is not. It is a 1 CP strat. Recently, things like this have been 2 CP, so I'm going to take that all the way to the bank, and this just makes your vehicles so much harder to charge. This mitigates deep strikes and charge shenanigans that people have. When an important charge fails, it can really swing the game, and this happens in the charge phase. So you can just make the charge longer than someone expects. Although, you really should warn people about that kind of stuff during their turn, because it's going to feel like a gotcha. They're going to be like, oh, I'm pre-measuring this, and it's, a 7-inch charge, or an 8-inch charge. And then you're just thinking to yourself, like, it's actually going to be a 10-inch charge, and they don't know it yet, and that's going to happen. Don't fucking do that to people. Just be like, I actually have a strat where I can make your charge longer. Tell them that. But like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, this does synergize really well with the Plaguecaster, because he slows stuff down in the movement phase, and then this can make the charge longer in the charge phase. So it effectively like neuters a unit that wanted to charge, or it makes them end up in a bad position that they didn't think they were going to be in. So, in conclusion on this one here, take vehicles. You know you want to. The other ones are kind of whatever though. They're not bad, but they're kind of whatever. Drawn to Despair, 1 CP, shooting phase, reroll hits against a unit in your opponent's deployment zone if they're visible. It's kind of cool. I just don't think it's necessary though, which is fine, which means you can use your CP somewhere else. Then you have Font of Death for 1 CP in the shooting phase. A vehicle gains assault. Meh, yeah, it's fine. Worse strats have been printed, but it's pretty generic, and I just don't like it. Make it like an auto advance 6 plus assault or something like that, or like a +2 to your advance roll and assault. Like give it something that's actually good, but fine. For the rest of the stuff we got in this detachment, I can't complain that much. Then you have one that happens in your opponent's command phase. It makes them take a battle shock test. It's bad. You're never going to use it. I'm not even going to read it. So, when we put it all together here, we find that this detachment has a lot of support for non-vehicle units, simply because of the detachment rule and from a couple of the strats. Like, Morty is going to be good here. Plague Burst Crawlers are going to be good here. Death Shrouds are definitely going to be good here. And Blight Lords, they all turn on when things are afflicted. Like, wouldn't it be nice if you could just pick some extra ones to make sure those things are as effective as possible? Well, here you go. Just pick things to have affliction, and now your stuff works better. And I really do like that about this detachment. Even though it's mainly focused on vehicles, the detachment rule helps non-vehicle things as well. But if you are playing a parking lot, you're still going to want to take some countercharge stuff. You're generally going to want to have combat of your own. And so while this detachment wants you to take vehicles, and it wants you to move through walls with them, and it wants to make charges harder and stuff, you can still get the full benefit of taking non-vehicle units. Plague Marines are just fucking good. Their Rhino can just move straight through walls now. They hit really hard in shooting and in combat, as any Death Guard player will tell you. Rhinos, they give them reroll wounds now. It's just crazy, outrageously good. But one thing I don't think you do is I don't think you take Morty here. I don't think you need him. And I don't think the detachment helps him as much as something like Virulent Vectorium does. I think you take the Prince for sure, though. And definitely a Lord of Virulence, but I'm not sure about Morty. I think the detachment rule does help him, but basically none of the strats do, none of the enhancements do, nothing else does. So, despite the name, I think Morty's out on this one. But things that I think could be in here are Defilers, Predators, Plague Burst Crawlers, Rhinos with Plague Marines inside, Death Shroud, and a couple of units of Poxwalkers and Spawn. You can't leave home without those. Overall, the Lord of Contagion is really good as well, simply just to attach to Death Shroud Terminators. The Death Shrouds themselves, the detachment rule here allows them to deep strike more easily within 6 inches. You might not have access to like full rerolls or like better criticals, but 24 attacks at strength 8, AP 3 because of affliction, 2 damage with hitting on 2s, lance, lethal, sustained. That's more than enough to deal with like any unit in the game already. So then you got your Rhinos, those Plague Marines are inside of them. They can now move through walls. They're harder to charge. It's just a great unit in any detachment, but this one especially with the movement stuff that it gets there. I love that. So you're going to want to potentially think about taking those. Spawn, you just need them in everything. These can do actions in the midboard early on. They're annoying to deal with. They're toughness 7. They've got 4 wounds and a 5-up feel no pain. They give out contagion. They hurt you when you hit them. They have deadly, like they're just annoying, dude. You take some Poxwalkers as well. You have some Infiltrators then. Those can also give out affliction early, and they can screen things early, which you really need as a Death Guard player. And then because it's vehicle focused, you're going to want to take a bunch of vehicles. So Predator Destructors, great support. They can move through walls, their charges are harder to do on them. They synergize with the other stuff that you want to take, like Defilers. Defilers themselves take away cover, and so they synergize with Predator Destructors and with the Plague Burst Crawlers. The Defilers can move through walls now. This combined with Predators equals an extra +2 AP on top of your Rattle Joint Affliction from -1 save. So they're just so good in any detachment, but because of the vehicle support here, they especially belong in this detachment. And like I said, the Plague Burst Crawlers, they just become better the more things are afflicted. And so your detachment rule makes that a lot easier. And you have access to those same strats to make it harder to charge, to make it move through walls, all that other stuff that you have here. And then you have random characters that belong here, like the Putrefier and Blightspawn, because they always just go with Plague Marines. And you're going to attach them to Plague Marines anyway if you're taking Plague Marines. But I think you take a list that's 2 Defilers, probably like 2 Predators, 2 to 3 Plague Bursts, and then the rest is like Plague Marines, Rhinos, a unit of Death Shroud with a Lord, Prince on foot most likely, and a Lord of Virulence on foot. And if you have the points for it, probably some Poxwalkers and Spawn. Although I would say you'd have to take those and replace something else, but that's probably what I'd be looking at if I were going to try to build a list with this detachment. And I think as long as you're taking vehicles here, that you can kind of take whatever else you want. Like, make sure you have enough vehicles that the detachment can support them. But because your main rule is based around affliction, and a lot of units care when things are afflicted, you can easily slot things like Death Shroud in without feeling like there's no support for them. So I think this is a really good detachment. I want to know what you guys think, so let me know down below, and that is going to conclude the video about Mortarion's hammer. If I missed anything, also let me know about that as well. Plague Burst like and subscribe button, Thunderhammer Nurgle's bell. Check out the other videos on the channel. We have a second channel as well, it's linked below, so feel free to check that out. Thanks as always, though, for watching, my fellow theorists. You guys are the best. Theory hard, and I'll catch you next time.